Thanks so much for joining us. First question out of the gate here is if you are elected to be Detroit's next mayor, what's something you would like to accomplish in your first 90 days?
Yeah, so I would say, one is going to be bringing city government directly to the neighborhoods and to the people of our city. Oftentimes, the resources that we have available are not getting directly to the people who need it the most. And so we have an idea of trying to, number one, improve city government and efficiencies around basic quality of life in city services, but also trying to bring ways to directly bring these opportunity hubs or kind of like the old neighborhood city halls back into our neighborhoods so that people can easily and accessibly reach out to various neighborhood departments and city departments that are the greatest need for our communities.
There's been this long-standing conversation about downtown Detroit and then the rest of Detroit. I know you've had a long conversation about trying to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. What would you like to see happen to see the neighborhoods thrive as much as downtown has?
Yeah, well, I believe that this is the number one focus of my administration is how we now create economic development, vibrancy, and walkability into every neighborhood of this city. And what I would like to focus on is neighborhood stabilization. That is one, continuing to eliminate blight throughout Detroit, ensuring that we're holding vacant and slumlords accountable who are contributing to that blight within our communities, but then also ensuring that we're providing funding for neighborhood beautification efforts and for home repair efforts throughout our city so that we can ensure that we are contributing to the rehabilitation of our communities. I also believe that we have a lot of vacant land in our neighborhoods, and so we should be proactively looking at ways that we can develop affordable housing, building infill housing on those vacant lots and land throughout our neighborhoods as well. And then lastly, I would say we have to bring more amenities, whether it's grocery stores, coffee shops, restaurants, daycare centers, whatever the needs of our communities are, we have to be proactive and aggressive at attracting those type of uses in our communities. And so we'll be focusing in on activating our commercial corridors to bring that vibrancy and that retail back into our neighborhoods.
I know a lot of your campaign, you've also talked about affordable housing. Can you give us some bullet points on exactly what your targets are and how you're going to pay for it?
Yeah. So I believe that every resident in this city deserves access to safe, quality, affordable housing. And one, we are going to ensure that what we define as affordable is actually affordable for those who need it most. And the way that we do that is we have to create programs and incentives like the pilot program that I've already approved and sponsored, which has created to date over 2,500 new affordable units. And we have 6,000 pending units that are forthcoming. And so we will continue to build affordable housing. We will expand the Housing Trust Fund, which I authored and created in Detroit, which provides funding to developers who are actually trying to build low-income housing in the city of Detroit. We are also going to ensure that we're expanding our paths to home ownership. Right now, through the down payment assistance program that we have in Detroit, we've had 700 new first-time home buyers in that program. We want to expand that program and get our banks to come on board to contribute more funding so that we can have more home buyers here in the city of Detroit as well. And then lastly, we want to ensure that we're building housing for all income levels and for all stages of life. And so while we do know that we need housing for very low income families, we also need housing for individuals who are young professionals, right, that are graduating from college or getting into a new job, a healthcare worker, a teacher. We need workforce housing. We need senior housing. And so we want to be very intentional about ensuring that we're actually meeting the needs of all of the housing that is needed here in the city of Detroit.
Which also then dovetails into my next question about jobs and economic growth. That's been a huge conversation throughout this entire race and how you can bring more jobs to the city of Detroit. So again, what are your bullet points?
Yeah, so as it relates to economic growth, bringing more jobs to Detroit, one is going to be how are we cultivating an environment by making Detroit the best place in America to start a business and to bring an industry here. And in order to do that, we have to ensure that we are cutting red tape, making regulations as easy as possible or reducing regulations and fostering a business-friendly environment so that it's easier to start and grow a business in Detroit. Secondly, we have to reduce property taxes in Detroit. It is a huge burden to both residents and businesses being successful. And so we're going to continue to focus on driving structural property tax reform. And then I think the most important here is that we have to continue to invest in our people, in our workforce, in order for us to bring jobs here, and in order for Detroiters to get the jobs that are already here. We have to ensure that we're investing in proper workforce development programs, that we have more pipelines through schools and through our colleges and our employers to prepare our residents for the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow.
Property taxes are reduced, though. That means less revenue for the city.
Yeah, and so what we've been studying, in very much so detail, not just myself, but leading experts around this issue, is that in order for us to reduce property taxes that would be substantial and comparable to other cities, it would have to be about a 60% reduction. That equates to about $400 million in revenue that we would have to find. And so what we're looking at is that, it would have to be a myriad of tools that we would combine and go to Lansing to advocate for change. So whether it's an entertainment tax, a ticket surcharge, land value tax, we have to figure out what the best option is for Detroit, and take that reform to Lansing to figure out what is the most effective way to really drive real structural property tax reform in Detroit.
We know one of the number one issue for voters is safety, and we have talked at length about the crime and issues that we've seen involving young people in the city of Detroit over the past summer. What would you like to see happen, or what can you do to reduce crime, and especially crimes involving our young ones?
Yeah, so I'm very excited to be able to launch the city's first ever Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And this office really addresses public safety and gun violence from a holistic standpoint. It partners with law enforcement, giving them the tools and the resources and technology that they need, but it also really uplifts the groundwork, the connecting our young people with the resources, providing more funding for youth programming and services. And I think that is what is needed in Detroit when we talk about youth violence. We cannot police our way out of it. We have to ensure that there's proper investment in our young people, from year-round employment opportunities to mentoring, into proper training. And of course, we want to ensure that we're employing and getting our youth in good paying jobs as well. And so my approach will be a partnership rooted in strong relationships with the law enforcement, but also with our community violence intervention work that is on the ground doing the work as well.
I'm assuming you've had conversations with Chief Bedison about that.
Yeah, we've had very, very intense conversations. In fact, he was at the table several conversations last year when we talked about creating this office. He's in full support of an Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And again, we are going to tackle public safety holistically. We will use all angles and all approaches that will allow us to continue to drive crime down, get guns out of the hands of those who are not responsible, and also ensure that we're cracking down on gang violence as well, too, which we oftentimes see when it comes to youth violence in Detroit.
Right. On the subject of youth is education. I know that graduation rates, absenteeism is not the issue of the city mayor, but I'm assuming that that's something you'd like to take a look at and see what you can do.
Yeah, so I'll be a champion of education. I've had some very productive conversations already around what this next administration can really do to bring everyone together who's in the space of education, to have more of a strategic plan to address education. And so we will have a liaison from our office working with the school system, but primarily my heart lies in really helping with after school programming and out of school time. It has been it was something that was very helpful for me as a child. And I believe that if we can provide robust after school programming for every child within a 2-mile radius of their school that can really support literacy and tutoring, that can also help with public safety. And it also helps with addressing the issue of literacy here in the city of Detroit. And then we also know that absenteeism is one of the number one issues facing our school system. And more of a coordinated approach to transportation is another area that our administration can be very helpful in with our school system.
Let's talk about the infrastructure of Detroit. There are areas that look beautiful and have been rehabbed, but some that we still have crumbling bridges and other issues. What are your plans in terms of A, finding the funding to fix that infrastructure, and B, implement it so we can start to rebuild some of these crumbling issues?
Yeah, well, we are going to continue to aggressively seek federal and state funding. In this last budget that was recently approved by the state, the city did get a nice share of funding that will support not just our roads, but also transit, which was a good win for Detroit. So we will continue to aggressively pursue that funding. We will also continue to explore different ways that we can diversify our revenue. So if we look at other cities, for example, that have maybe a half penny tax, they dedicate that funding to infrastructure, into transit, into public safety. And so we will be very innovative in how we diversify our revenues, and have the leading economists come in and explore, here are some different ways that we can diversify our revenues, that we can identify for additional funding for infrastructure. But I will say that we will continue to prioritize infrastructure in our existing budget. And we will also lean to any of our corporate and private sector entities that would like to step in and support in that regard. And then lastly, I would say because of our increased bond rating that we have with the city, we do have the ability to bond if we need to, whether that's for housing or for infrastructure. And we can do it at a pretty good rate because the city council has been very diligent in being fiscally responsible. So that also is an option if we need to explore at some point in time.
Much transportation in terms of absenteeism for the schools, but public transit as a whole. What would you like to see public transit become in Detroit and for Detroit in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
So a world-class city needs world-class transit. And I think first and foremost, my number one goal is to ensure that those who ride our public transportation system are able to get to where they need to be in a timely fashion. That is the most pressing need. Yes, I have larger goals around regional transit. I would love to explore expanding the people mover or expanding our M1 rail. But the most immediate need in Detroit is how can people get to and from where they need to go in a timely manner. And so that would be my number one objective, is to figure out how we properly pay our bus drivers, how we get more buses on the streets, and how we enhance our current service. In addition to that, we've been exploring different ways to supplement our public transportation with things like micro transit and shuttles that we can have within Detroit that will get our residents to where they need to go in an efficient time. But overall, yes, I would love to have a regional approach, working with our regional partners to look at a broader plan for regional transportation here in Detroit.
Well, we have a few minutes left, so I'll try to kind of get through these last ones quickly here. In terms of equity and inclusion, what would you like to see done, both at the city level, but really at the street level, to make sure that everybody not only has a seat at the table, but is represented properly?
Yeah, I think this is where, my love and passion for people and for service comes in. And really, my track record on council has always indicated that I am someone who is accessible, who loves to collaborate and listen to the voices of those who are going to be impacted. And so this is very important to me. We want to ensure that in my administration, everyone does feel valued and seen. And so we will go through a citywide engagement process, district by district, to make sure we are listening to the needs of each community. We know that every neighborhood is different in what they want and what they need. And so as we are proposing projects and plans, we want to make sure that every resident has a voice at that table. And we will make sure that that is done by expanding the Department of Neighborhoods and ensuring that we have liaisons in each district that are engaging with our block clubs citywide, and also encouraging that more residents form block clubs throughout our city so that they can have a voice within city government.
Looking at the issues of accountability and transparency, what will you, if elected, do to make sure that the people see exactly what's happening in your office, especially if something bad happens or a wrong decision is made?
Yeah, so we want to, utilize technology as much as possible. I think that there is a way that we can put things up online more so in real time, even with the contracting process and procurement process. Who was awarded? How were they awarded? What were they awarded? And really have more transparency utilizing technology and innovation. So we'll make sure that we're doing that. And as much as we can, we want to ensure that consistently we are reporting out to our community and to residents in real time the decisions that are being made. But more importantly, we want residents to be a part of that decision-making process. So we will always remain accountable and accessible as much as possible, and always looking at best practices at ways that we can implement better reform in that regard as well.
Yeah. Last question for you. In a minute, if you can, voters are going to be at the polls very soon. Why Mary Sheffield for mayor?
Mary Sheffield has been here with you, Detroit, on the front lines, working alongside you over the last 12 years to improve the quality of life for this city. We have accomplished so much over 12 years, whether it's things like right to counsel that has kept people in their homes, to creating affordable housing, starting some investments in our neighborhoods, creating a beautification program for our block clubs. But there's more work to do, without a doubt. And I have a record of getting things done, uh, building partnerships and coalitions to solve issues. And so I encourage you all to vote. I would love to have your vote to serve as your next mayor, to ensure that we're creating a Detroit that works for everyone. And that is my goal and my mission. And I will be honored to serve as your next mayor of Detroit.